Yeah, we're live. Here we go.
Excellent. You want to do the honors?
Yeah, Alison.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone.
Hi, you want me to start?
Hello, everyone. I hadn't realized we'd gone live. It's so exciting. Welcome to the latest Danziger Live, because we are live. Hi, Stein Are. Hello, darling. And hello, Betty Finkelstein.
Hi.
Betty is our person, the person of the moment from Danziger. So, Betty, tell us a bit about Danziger.
Okay, so hi Alison, hi Stein. I introduced myself, my name is Betty Finkelstein and I'm the Global Brand Manager at Danziger. We are breeders and you most probably are familiar with the leading products that we have, such as Excellence and Million Stars Gypsophila, the Scoop Scabiosa, and the latest, most promising green dragon, Lepidium. Exactly. And today I have the pleasure of having both my dearest friend, Alison Bradley, with us, and of course, the most talented and creative Stein Are Hansen. Hello, dear. In our session, Minimalistic Chic. Before I give the stage to you back, Alison, I just want to remind you all that we opened a Facebook group called Danziger Live. This is a proactive and interactive group for us to interact. We will post the webinar at this group. You can ask questions before every webinar that we'll have, and you can also raise questions afterwards. This is your platform. Use it, interact, share your thoughts, insight, and ideas, and have fun with it. And with no further introduction, Alison, the stage is all yours. Have fun, Stein and Alison. I'll say you goodbye.
Bye-bye, Betty.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Betty.
Bye-bye.
Okay, just for everyone, some of you will know what a breeder is, but breeders in terms of the horticultural world are the men and women who develop new strains of plants or new varieties, and these are then released to the growers around the world who then produce these. Danziger produce are very well known for pot plants, that kind of thing, bedding plants. New to their range are roses, but also various other things. And they came up with the idea of having this live webinar situation where people could interact with other designers and influencers around the world with me hosting it. So that's very kind of them because they're putting all of this together. When I put the list together of who I would like to interview, pretty high up on the list had to be my friend Stein Are Hansen. We've known each other for quite a long time now, Stein, haven't we? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A few centuries, yes.
We first met in Paris. It sounds very glamorous, but it wasn't very glamorous at the time, if I remember rightly. And then subsequently, we've met in various locations around the world. Perhaps the most memorable would be Hong Kong.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, where we had a ball. But this is not just about us and our fun and what we get up to. We get up to quite a lot. But the reason I wanted to interview you, Stein, was I absolutely love your approach to materials. I find it fascinating. Nordic design is, in my opinion, some of the best in the world. But you are clearly known for minimalistic work and minimalistic, but not necessarily small work. Can you maybe explain to the participants here, our audience, you're known for using flowers that other people overlook, I think. Can you explain why?
Well, I think there are a few sort of reasons for that. First of all, I had my initial sort of apprentice period in a small town in northern Norway. We actually have a participant from that town with us today. Okay. And when I used to work up there, we used to have all our flowers delivered by air freight.
Yeah.
And if you had, you know, a bride that coming weekend and there was an air flight strike or something, you know, an airstrike or maybe just a winter storm, well, you had to make it work. So there's something about those really classic materials that a lot of people tend to maybe overlook a little bit that I find interesting. I think that I used to say, and of course this sounds awfully posh and very sort of cocky, but I always used to say that every idiot on the planet can make a bundle of Gloriosa look beautiful. But there's something about freesias and carnations and liatris and statise and that sort of thing that I find really interesting, because to me they represent a challenge. And I think that it's not about necessarily the materials, but the way you use the materials, and that's sort of an attitude that I still cherish today. I still like to sort of challenge myself using, you know, maybe the things that a lot of people find a little bit boring or not so interesting, because I think they're beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, when we first discussed this, I gave you a selection of materials to choose from, and you did say that you wanted to work with Green Dragon, with the Lepidium that you're working with just now.
Yes.
Because
and it's sort of a flower that a lot of people think of maybe as strictly a filler, but I think that every little modest material can have great impact if it's just used in the right way.
Okay, and you're making presumably a bridal bouquet here with this.
I am, and actually this one is in the dreaded sort of horrible, you know, a lot of people are sort of like real florists, never use an Oasis bridal holder, but actually I'm quite a fan of them. And especially when we work with water consuming materials like this one, I think that it's quite useful. So I'm not a big fan of the ones that have a handle that isn't sort of rigid and too thick. They tend to be a little bit more like a sex toy to me. But this one is this one is neat and elegant, yeah, I find them really useful, and I've grown quite accustomed to them, so I use them quite a lot.
You mentioned there the things that are quite thirsty. Are we talking about the Lepidium? Is it thirsty?
I think it can handle being without water for quite some time if it sort of has a surface to rest on, so to speak. But when you choose to flare them out like this, so then they definitely need some water. Yeah.
And the Spirea, I think it's Spirea arguta you're using just now, yeah?
Yes, this is Spirea, and that's definitely a flower that needs a constant water supply.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just want
beautiful.
Yes, I just wanted to do something that had a very sort of, actually, the amount of materials in this bouquet is quite small. It's not a lot of materials. It's basically a bundle of Lepidium, less than 5 stems, and
wow,
some Spirea that I nicked from the neighbor's garden, and a few of the dry phalaris that has been quite common the last few years. Yeah.
But I like the way you've used that. Almost there, you can see each and every piece there. That's the beauty of this.
And I think actually there's something about, I really have an affinity for these really sort of almost flat, narrow, sort of lens-shaped bouquets. I think they're very beautiful when they're carried maybe just, instead of carrying this with 2 arms sort of traditionally in front of you, maybe a more relaxed pose where you actually hold the bouquet more like a silhouette to the dress.
Okay.
So yeah, there's something about the sort of the thinness and the elegance that comes with this kind of shape that I like a lot.
There's no question, it's elegant. I should mention to our audience that the last 10 minutes of what we're doing today, we're going to do a Q&A. So although I'm seeing some comments coming up here, and thank you very much for those, rather than trying to answer all of them as they go along, if you don't mind, we'll wait until the last 10 minutes and then we'll try and deal with your questions. So if you have any special questions you want to send in to Stein Are or to me for that matter, feel free to do so. But you can also go onto the group on Facebook afterwards and we'll monitor the questions and we'll get back to you. Okay, so that's great. That's superb.
So this,
On you go.
I guess, we are done with our first work, which was a little bit of a bridal inspiration.
Yeah.
So for my next work, I wanted to use the Lepidium in a very, very commercial way. So basically, I've just rinsed a whole bunch of them and stuffed them into a classic cylindrical vase. And then I took a scissor and just swooped it off like a bad haircut on top, because I just wanted to be really, I just wanted to be completely graphic and flat, and I don't want anything sort of sticking out.
Okay.
And they have great volume and are very sturdy the way they are now. So I just want to arrange a few flowers in between the Lepidium and use this whole thing as a base for a very sort of simplistic and slick and clean arrangement.
I guess that's what you're known for, is this clean design look. You know, you're very, these days you're now located as an in-house florist. That's probably the wrong term for you, but in this beautiful hotel in Oslo in Norway, yeah?
Yes.
It's quite, you keep reinventing yourselves over the years that I've known you. You know, I know you as a teacher because you've been here to teach. I know you as a judge because I've seen you judging in action as well. But I know you also as a person who's owned 2 shops, and I know you now as an in-house florist. Is it because you have a low boredom threshold?
No, actually, the working for the Grand Hotel in Oslo was something that came with the store originally, and then when I closed the store, I told the hotel that, you know, you have to find yourself another florist, because I'm planning on taking up traveling again much more than I used to do, and so on. But they wouldn't let me go. so we had to figure out a way where that I could continue sort of being their main florist, but also make it flexible for me so that I could stay away for periods at a time. So I sort of, my responsibility at the hotel is to sort of keep it fresh on a weekly basis, but whether that means me doing plant work that will last for 3 weeks so I can be gone for a while,
Yeah.
or if I want to do something really, you know, more shorter lasting that has to be replaced after just a few days, that's basically up to me. I have a monthly budget and I can control that basically the way I want to.
Great.
So
Good. So, you know, it's fairly well known that you're a former world champion, but can we go back in time? I know quite a lot about your history because we've broken a couple of bottles of champagne over the years, but how young were you when you first started competing in the Norwegian Cup?
I had my first sort of, we had sort of a round of championships where you locally, where you qualify.
Yeah.
Well, if you make it there, you continue on into the national finals. So I think I was 17 when I first started. Yeah.
Yeah. And you won one of the major awards, did you not?
I did actually, because well, first of all, it's quite a shock to actually make it onto the national finals, and then because I had no idea like how I would compare to the others and if I was any good or anything. I knew that I had a strong interest. I was really interested, and I knew that I would probably be able to make it with some training and with time, but how I would sort of make it to begin with, I wasn't really sure about. So I was a little bit in shock when I actually qualified, and then when I won the junior gold in the nationals that year, that was really a big thing for me.
Of course.
Specifically also because I got to work amongst a lot of my heroes, and even was able to sort of, you know, give them a run for their money, which felt really good, obviously. So that was great.
So how many times, can you remember how many times you actually won the overall championship?
I know I have 9 national gold medals,
Okay.
5 of them as a senior, no, 6 of them as a senior and 3 of them as a junior. And then I think I've done around 19 or 20 national finals. So
Okay.
it's quite a few.
Yeah.
It is quite a few.
And how did these very experienced and well-known people react to this young whippersnapper of 17 years of age or 18 or 19, whatever, coming up biting at their heels like this?
Well, I think that I've always made this joke that I'm a very extrovert introvert, which basically makes sense. So I was a very nosy guy, and I was so interested, and I was asking all these questions all the time. But I think they I think they found me a little bit annoying in terms of me asking all these questions and stuff. But at the same time, I guess they were also a little bit impressed that there was this young kid coming along that was really that interested in flowers. Yeah. So I was respected because of that, I think. Yeah.
Actually, I once judged the Norwegian championships with my friend Yoni, and we were over. It was Linda that invited us, and I remember asking some of the younger competitors, because you weren't there that year, because they'd actually changed the rules, I think, and I asked them, what's it like? I mean, why do you compete against someone like Stein Are? And they all said the same thing, but that's what we want to do. We want to compete against you because if you win something, then it really means something. So that I thought that was a huge compliment to you. And actually a really good compliment to the educational system and style of floristry in Norway. So here's
a little vase for you.
That's gorgeous.
So it's basically just a really simple concept, something I do a lot with, well, huckleberries or just different kinds of Italian greens. But the Lepidium is really, really useful for this sort of concept, where you basically just stuff them parallel into a container and then use them as sort of a support system, if you will, to add in more material together with it.
And it gives it that fresh look because of the green color. It gives it a really fresh feel to it.
It has the most extraordinary green color, doesn't it? It's not the dark green we're used to with ruscus or that sort of thing. And it's not that bright lime green that can be a bit complicated with certain materials. It's that beautiful grassy green. It feels really like you're stepping into the meadows. It's really, really nice like that.
They call it in their literature the energizer, and there is an element of truth in that it is quite an energizing color of green, I think. So then you went on to compete at the World Cup in Shanghai, and I was there. I saw the conditions that you were working in, which were challenging for everyone that was concerned. Oh, what's happened to my camera? I've gone blurred. How exciting is that? Come in, number 3. I don't know why I'm blurred. It's probably because I'm referred to Shanghai. Anyway, putting that to one side, because it's more important that you see Stein Are than me, to be honest. What did it mean? I mean, did it make any difference to your career being the world champion?
The weird thing is that in many ways I had sort of defined myself as a retired competitor by that point.
Okay.
And then I came back and did a few Norwegian championships because I had a break for a while. And I won, which was nice. And then, so when the ticket to Shanghai came up, so to speak, I guess I was obviously the first choice, so to speak. And I was actually a little bit, I wasn't that keen to begin with, simply because I sort of had done my share of competitions by then. And I was thinking maybe, well, I didn't really know if I wanted to do it. But then they told me it was in Shanghai. And actually that's when so the fact that it was in Shanghai was actually part of the reason why I chose to do it, because I felt like my experience with the Chinese attitude and a lot of the tasks were really sort of, they had an overall Oriental theme to them. I sort of thought that I could do this. This is something that I could do. Yeah. So, and then obviously by that time I was so well experienced that I think a lot of competitors that goes to international championships, they might have won a few titles back home, but maybe altogether they've done maybe less than 10 competitions. I've done a lot, meaning that I sort of have my nerves in check, and it takes a lot to sort of tip me off my, I can handle quite a lot of things. And even though it was a stressful competition with a lot of mayhem going on, that didn't bother me as much. That was fine. I could handle it, and I actually enjoyed that competition a lot, because when I did my first big international competition at the Europe Cup in Linz, I was still quite fresh, and I was so stressed out about everything. But there's something so great to be said about the fact when you get more comfortable, and when you grow into your own skin, and you sort of know who you are, and you know how to approach things, and you're not as easily, confused. So yeah, it's a great thing being a bit more experienced.
Or older.
Oh, that's your word, not mine.
Okay, so, but then did you get a lot of work out of that? I mean,
well, the fun thing,
you were very.
The weird thing is that when I first compete in Austria, in Linz, I came in third. And I had an enormous amount of work coming in as a result of that competition, where I only became number 3. But then fast forward to 2010, when the World Cup in Shanghai was held, and the whole industry had changed. After the financial crisis hit in 2007, something happened. There used to be, every little wholesaler in the world would have a Christmas demo. Every little wholesaler in the world would have, arrange a few classes or an open house or that sort of thing. But the whole market for freelance florists has sort of shrunk quite a bit. And, there isn't that much of trade fair shows and all that stuff going on anymore. It's a far smaller market. So that was one factor. The other factor was that I had to stay at home for a while to take care of my shop, which by then had become increasingly busy. So here I am, I've just become world champion, and I have to tell people that I'm sorry, I can't make it. I had to say no quite a lot. So that was also weird. But obviously I had quite a few jobs based on that win. But yeah, I also had the privilege of being a little bit picky.
Yeah, wow. That helps, doesn't it? So
it does, actually.
We've got a question in that I can ask you just now. People are asking, what's the white flowers that you're using just now?
At the moment, it's good old-fashioned chrysanthemums.
Good man. Okay.
And then even more good old-fashioned statice, which is one of my absolute favorite flowers. And don't give me that small flowered fancy stuff. I want the big one, the chunky one. And especially the white or soft yellow ones, I'm crazy for them.
Yeah.
Love them.
Okay, so that's that. And in the previous arrangement, what was in that? I can't remember. You had roses, yeah?
I'm sorry?
In the previous arrangement, you had roses.
Those were standard white roses and craspedia, and a few Aricea tifa leaves. Yeah.
Ah, tifa.
Basically.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So I just wanted to take this sort of a similar concept to the previous work. This time around, just making a beautiful sort of, we tend to use this oasis that sort of exceeds the height of the bowl, and then stuff everything sideways and make these cushion shaped things. But I'm really fond of the concept where you sort of let the bowl sort of just have an extension, as if the bowl sort of rises into the flowers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like a shaver's brush, that sort of or foam brush that you use for shaving.
Okay.
And then just make a nice form and fill it with flowers. I'm a big fan of, we don't necessarily always need to use that many different materials or make it so fancy. Just focus on really good proportions and perfecting your overall form. I think that's one of probably some of the most important thing you can do as a florist.
Okay, two things have come in here that I'll mention. One, now I think that this was Camilo, says that she too is a fan of status. She absolutely loves it. But also, they're asking if it's possible to have a close-up of the arrangements. Now, I know how difficult this is going to be for you because of where your camera is located. Is it possible for you to, oh, there you are. He's moving in close-up. Okay. So there's a
when this whole thing is over, we will also photograph all the works more detailed and add them to the Facebook page. So yeah, you will be able to see them a bit more detailed later as well. But for you guys, a bit more of a close-up. I don't want to complicate this more. I just want it to be very decorative, very sort of classic concept with a twist. Let the Lepidium sort of be that lush, beautiful meadow of greens, and then add in a few flowers to complete the shape.
So in this aspect of the minimalistic chic, which is what the overall title of this webinar is, but of course is Dare to be Different is the overall title. But in terms of the length of stems, you know, there's 60 centimeters, 70 centimeters, 80 centimeters. In terms of your kind of work, what's the most attractive length of stem that you would be aiming to use?
I think more than being specific on one specific length, it's more about choosing the right length when you order flowers and stuff, because in Norway, flowers are extremely expensive and you don't want to pay freight for a super long stem and then cut it down to nothing and shove it into oasis. So if we order really long hydrangeas, for instance, we'll keep them long and sort of respect and treasure that beautiful stem length that the grower has been working on. Obviously, right now I've chopped off heads of chrysanthemum and statice, but of course, it depends a bit on the material as well. Yeah,
it depends. And also it depends on location.
Absolutely.
What you're designing for. It's not a standard production line we're doing here, yeah? Okay, so I know what we're on to now. Here we go. This is good.
So kind of funny you should mention that thing about stem length, because I wanted to do a bouquet as well.
Aha, here we go.
And this is basically a bundle of Lepidium just tied in a parallel fashion.
Yeah.
Never mind the cable ties. It was just the only thing I had in the hand. I'm going to remove them. And then I've added Tifa grass, Aristea confusa, to sort of crisp it up a bit and make it a little bit, it's almost like a sort of a hurricane shape or a fountain shape. And then I just want to complete the whole bouquet by using chrysanthemums and chrysanthemums only.
So the Tifa that's used there, how have you connected it in? Is it at the base it's using the cable ties, but once you get up into the medium, how is it attached there? Are you wired in? Ah, really? So it's
stapler.
Yeah, okay, cool. Oh, fun.
One of my favorite work tools is the stapler.
Okay. Okay, so it's stapled down. I have to say this, you know, this shape, this form that you've just created there. This is what I think a lot about in terms of your design shapes. Yeah, the designs you did in Shanghai were fairly groundbreaking, but you've done also some other interesting work too. You did yes, Charles, it has been stapled. Yes, it's been stapled. It's been stapled not to the Lepidium, to one another. You're only stapling the Tifa to itself. Yes, it's not being.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Leave the Lepidium.
Yes, it's been separate from the Lepidium. Yeah, the Tifa leaf is much stronger in terms of being able to accept a staple. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Your forms that you create with things are so chic. I mean, they're so elegant. In the days of when you had your shop, was this the kind of thing that your customers loved?
Yes, and I sort of forced it a bit upon them. And now we're back to something that also is really close to my heart. That good old discussion that everybody has about, oh, I can't sell this or whatever, you know. We have to promote ourselves and the work that we do with passion. And if you don't believe in the product yourself, how the hell is your customer going to believe it? And I have a very, I definitely prefer a cleaner look. I know we've called this webinar minimalism, but it's not really minimalism either. It's more about a reduced way of looking at materials. You know, instead of mixing a gazillion of varieties, I very often tend to stick to 1, 2, 3, max 4, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. I try to sort of get my clients used to this approach, and I think we've succeeded fairly well. Yeah.
I think we have. Also, it's interesting that you're saying this about educating your customer bases. How often have I heard this phrase that, oh, my customers wouldn't like that, my customers would never go for that? So my next question is, have you ever tried it? Have you ever tried it? You know, and we've discussed before that in your shop, it could be that there was just a few varieties of flowers available.
Yes.
But in fair quantities.
In quite large quantities, yeah. And I told you this story earlier today about, I had a time where I had this thing where I tended to sort of, like, one week I would only have yellow flowers, the next week I would only have blue or something like that. I can be quite extreme. No kidding. And then and then of course, when you have when the season comes for those really beautiful dark black callas and fritillarias and that sort of thing, yeah, I could fill the whole store with only, you know, black as like super dark burgundy purple flowers. That's all I had. And then customer will come in, and then remember one woman coming in once and saying, "You only have black flowers?" And I said, "Yeah, what more do you need? I mean, they're gorgeous." So I think that we need to sort of approach sometimes floristry a little bit more the way a good restaurant does in terms of food. Yeah. But you know, you come into the restaurant, you know it's a good restaurant, and they will tell you, this is the catch of the day. This is the absolute best sort of resources we can get you. So yeah. At the moment, the mussels are, you know, yeah. The clams are beautiful, you know, you should eat Norwegian strawberries now because they're in season, you know, that sort of thing. We tend to, in this industry, to be like, oh, we need to have a little bit of everything. Yeah. And by doing so, we sort of lose maybe a little bit of our refinement, I think. Yes.
I would agree. It's about creating who you are and what you do, and that's really what sets people apart. Is you know, we're living in a culture these days where so many customers, so many clients are besieging florists. Oh, I saw this on Pinterest. Oh, I saw this on Instagram. I want this reproduced, and I've got a £5 budget. You know, can you do this for €200? Oh yes, a floral arch, this, that, and the next thing. Mm-hmm. It seems to me that we've lost something because of this.
Absolutely, I think we've let our clients get the initiative part of the process, which feels really, really weird. Yeah. I think we need to be much more proactive and go out there and say that, you know, let me get you an example. I've had brides in my store coming in, and then, you know, and then, oh, we've heard you're the world champion. We want you to do the bridal bouquet, and it's going to be a little bit like this and this and that and that and this and this and that. And then if I have a bouquet in my hand behind the counter, I'll be like, you know, and then they'll obviously go, what? And then I'll say, but why the hell do you want me to do it? if you're going to tell me every step of the process, I'm going to do it. Do you go into a gourmet restaurant and you know, start tossing around in the kettle together with the chef at the kitchen? You don't. I mean, leave me some slack. I mean, I understand if you have sort of an overall feel or a concept or an ambiance or something you want to grasp, but we have to be the ones that do it for them, because they don't know shit. The only thing they know is the latest Instagram or Pinterest photo. And I will not accept that as a work manual. So
good man.
So hard to sort of show the entirety of the bouquet in this angle, but you know, there's only a few mums in here, and I just want to focus on a nice shape. Very important detail. I see a lot of beautiful bouquets tied with a horrible binding point. It needs to be something beautiful.
Yeah.
I like to use bonsai wire because it sort of gives a little bit of that jeweler's touch, if you know what I mean. There's something very neat about that and organized. And it's also the kind of bouquet that I think, instead of plumping it into a big vase where you cover most of the goodies, it needs to be sort of almost hanging at the edge of a heavy vase. Bit more like that.
Yeah, it sits at an angle. Yeah.
Yeah. Which
so
I find
actually,
a bit more cool.
For relatively little material, you produced a very large bouquet there.
Yes. And I could maybe have used a mum or two more, but I didn't have any more, so we'll leave it.
I've run out of room.
And that's the thing, I think.
I've had
this is a problem that I think every florist out there can relate to.
Okay, Yvette is asking if you can, Stein, before you take the bouquet, could you please bring the bouquet right close to the camera, the top of it as much as you can, right in.
Yes.
Okay.
So, like I said, I could have used a couple of more mums because now we ended up having a little bit of a triangle thing.
Yeah.
But I think I got the message through in terms of, you know, the silhouette of the bouquet and that sort of weaved sort of concept that translates into the cone shape thing that I was going for.
Yvette is asking, she's saying, have you seen an increase in the use of greens as a base for bouquets?
Oh, obviously. I mean, there has been a period with floristry where it seems like every product was like half a bucket of pistachio green because that was cheap from Italy, you know, and then you just stuffed everything into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit unfair towards beautiful greens, you know. So I guess I prefer when instead of just sort of stuffing it in there for the sake of volume, that you sort of have a more, what's the word? A more deliberate approach to how you use the material. Yeah,
quite. Okay, I would totally agree with that. It's can we also mention that you're based in Norway, and the prices of things in Norway are, can we just say, a little bit high?
Yeah, they are.
So, can we discuss the problems that you as a florist have encountered of bringing material in, because you are heavily taxed on certain flowers coming into the country, are you not?
Yes, because we are not a member of the EU, and there's a lot of good things that comes with not being a member of the EU. But when it comes to flowers, we have a lot of taxes that are sort of added on in order to protect Norwegian production. The only problem is that there is hardly any Norwegian production left. So we have taxes up to 249%. And that tax is also on the freight part of it. So it can be pretty daunting. Yeah.
So just to reiterate that for people, 249% tax on certain items that they're importing, and therefore it makes it all the more important for people in those countries in the Nordic bloc to actually use every part of the stem, every part of the flower. They pay for it, so they use it. And it's actually a really good ethos for current day thinking, you know, about the green side of things and the eco-friendly side of things, is utilizing everything and reduction of waste.
And we also have very much a live discussion at the moment going into this thing with recycling and biodegradable materials and that sort of thing. So that is absolutely a very important part of the florist discussion.
Okay, good. So now we're on to what looks like a Lapidium wreath.
Yes.
Can I just say that looks beautiful? Absolutely.
Well, and it's actually, this isn't really hard to do whatsoever. It's actually quite easy. And there is a little trick here that comes with this that I use quite often when I work on wreaths, and also with hearts that I'm going to show you later.
Yeah.
And that trick is this little fellow.
Aha! Oh.
It's basically just regular textile string. Because obviously the Lepidium has quite long sort of side branches, so it can be a bit too fluffy at times. But because this is the perfect color, I've just added in everything clockwise. They look quite bushy when it was sort of all added into the foam. And then I just sort of carefully nested the wire into it, not the wire, the string, the cotton string into it, to sort of fold it all into position.
So are you working on foam?
Yes, today I am.
On foam. Okay, good.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. Is that dry foam you're working on?
No, wet, the bio foam, the new foam from Oasis.
Foam from Oasis, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I just wanted to show how beautiful a few stems of this modest material is to use for a beautiful form like this. Yeah. And it's actually very cheap.
It's actually quite interesting because when I first started working with Danziger, they referred to a lot of what they produce as fillers, and I just about went nuts when they said that, because to me that's insulting to what they produce. This is such a beautiful product. It just is just gorgeous. So they know they have to put money in the swear box if they use the word filler. I'm hoping it will buy us some champagne, you know, you never know. Pete's saying that what is the basic average import tax that you pay for flowers?
Well, actually, we have the system is quite intricate. There isn't a basic tax because we have a lot of flowers that are tax-free too. If flowers are produced in Africa, for instance, oops, there we go. It's sort of viewed as third world aid, if you will. So if the flower comes all the way from Africa, it's tax-free. But if I take the same rose from Holland, I have to pay 249% tax certain times of the year. So this is interesting.
So does that apply to the likes of Ecuador and Colombia as well?
Actually, Colombia and Ecuador is full on tax all year round for us, which is why you will never see Ecuadorian roses in Norway.
Oh boy, right, okay, wow. Well, that explains something. And by the way, Linda, hi Linda, is saying it's sewing thread you were using for binding on the Lapidium there, yeah?
I'm sorry?
Is that sewing thread you were using? For
yes.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned sewing thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cheap. I used to use a lot of myrtle wire. And of course, sometimes bullion wire, although I always preferred myrtle wire. But it's become increasingly expensive. Plus, myrtle wire doesn't rot.
That's true.
But cotton string does, and it's super cheap. So even when I do those moss-covered orchids and stuff that I tend to do a lot of in periods of the year, I now use only this thing. I've stopped using metallic wire whatsoever for that use.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm addicted to fabric and to threads and things like that. Yeah, it's a problem. Maybe I should go to Threads Anonymous or something.
So I actually found at the colleague's place today 2 single beautiful stems of Fritillaria persica.
Gorgeous.
And I just thought that this wreath is already so beautiful the way it is. So I just want to give it a little bit of a, yeah, a little treasure, so to speak.
It's the framework for it. Because you
Yes.
see both materials clearly and perfectly, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
well,
here you go.
I just love it.
So I figured it doesn't need any more. It's done.
No,
Yeah.
it's done. I would agree. That's beautiful. Thank
How
you.
are we on time?
Darling, you've no idea. You've got exact, if we're going to if we're going to have 10 minutes Q&A, you have 4 minutes on your next subject.
Which is
Okay?
perfect.
You're
God,
doing
I'm so good at this.
Oh, wow. Maybe we should
Well,
get professional.
Oh, maybe I should get professional. You think I should find a work in the industry or something?
I think
They
maybe.
told me I could be okay.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, when you're presented with a material that is so easily termed as a filler, I wanted to sort of take them up on that, but maybe in a slightly different way than they anticipated. So I think one thing I'm quite famous for is doing hearts.
Love your hearts. Oh, God.
So I chose to do all green Lepidium heart.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And here I've also used the sewing string to sort of nest it in a little bit and control the shape. And that's super practical because once you've added a few layers of that string, you can sort of use those to hook underneath and help you form the heart. This is also done in an Oasis base. And a lot of people ask me, how do you get that beautiful shape and how do you make it work like that? Well, first of all, I never use the original shape of the heart the way it is. I always remove quite a lot of the foam on the sides and in the cleavage, as I like to call it, because I always say that a heart, it's the ultimate feminine symbol. It should be like a woman in Rococo time. So you should think about a heart as if as a good pair of boobs that sort of corseted in, you know. So you get that beautiful sort of Cupid line on top. Just imagine, should be that Marie Antoinette sort of feel, and then the waist to come in and, you know, should be really sexy. That's the way to do a heart. I hate it when hearts are sort of like, you can't really tell what's up and down. Or is it supposed to be a warning sign, or what is this thing? No, it should be. It definitely should be very feminine and sort of have that curve and that beautiful sort of waist that comes in.
Well, I've just been asked how many stems would you use to do that? Because Claire's saying it would damage the fragile stems.
Actually, I don't think I've broken a single stem. I've just bent them in very carefully. I think this one contains about 1 bundle, 5 stems of Lepidium. Okay, that's it. But remember, they come in various sortings, so to speak. So the quality I got was probably the absolutely best, largest branches. So obviously I've seen, you know, cheaper bundles with more skimpy branches as well. Obviously, the grower will have all kinds of variations on this, but these were 5 stems with top quality Lepidium. Yeah, and it's the Green Dragon, and that's what it's known for. Actually, going by the Green Dragon is definitely this top quality product. Yeah. Well, look, folks, we've got a couple of questionnaires for you, and well, Stein's just making that even more beautiful. Jonathan, who's our off-screen friend, my little internet compadre, Jonathan, could you put up the first questionnaire? Now, those of you that are on Zoom can answer this to say, have you ever used Lepidium, please? So, and then the results of this will come back, and we can discuss it later on in the forum. You know, the Facebook page, which has been, the group has been built up so that this is an ongoing conversation, so that you can participate in this and show us what you've done and maybe obviously ask for some advice. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is, oh, it's still in progress. Okay, so 76% of people have used Lepidium and only 24% have not used it. Okay, Jonathan, can we go on to the next question, please? Okay, can we go on to the next question? Jonathan, oh, there he is. And what would you consider using it for, as a filler or as a design element? So the voting is, do you know, it's like the Eurovision Song Contest here, Stein.
Here are the votes from the Oslo jury.
Of the votes, absolutely. Okay.
Israel, 12 points.
Alison Bradley, 0 points. Okay, well, this is actually very interesting result. Okay, so as a filler, 33%, as a design element, 67% people are using it as a design element. Bravo you, well done. Oh, excellent. Okay, so can we go on to the final question, because we've got 3 questions for you. We don't want you to get bored. I hope you've not been bored. Jonathan, can we have the last question, please? Okay, so what type of designer are you? And you can answer for more than one choice. Are you a flower shop, an online business? Are you specifically corporate clients, hotels, shops, offices, or are you a hobbyist? Okay, this is going like a fun fair here. Okay, interesting. While this is happening, what flowers are you adding in there, darling?
More of the spirea, because I thought that they just had that sort of gentle feel that I really would like to focus on here. Yeah. I don't want something harsh, or I don't want that typical orchid head that's just sort of shoved in a water tube on top of this. I wanted the flowers to sort of integrate with the Lepidium and sort of feel like they were cozy and best of friends.
Cozy and best of friends. Okay, so the results are in. We have a high percentage of hobbyist at 46%, bridal florist 22%, corporate 35%, online business 16%. Oh, that's interesting. And a flower shop 35%. Thank you for voting, and thank you, Jonathan, for putting up those polls for us, the results of which can be seen later on again. So let's go back to Stein, who is actually, can I just click out of this so I don't see this anymore? Yes, it's gone. Excellent. Okay. Aha, here we go.
So I think that this is definitely a work that represents me very much, because only 2 materials, focus on the overall outer form, proportions, all those things that are near and dear to my heart, literally, because, you know, I made a heart. So, yeah.
Anyone who had a heart, yeah. I love your hearts. And people, you know, we could have shown you lots of photographs of Stein's previous designs, but it's pretty easy to find him on social media, not necessarily Facebook, because believe it or not, he lost his page. It disappeared.
Oh, don't even get me started. Yes.
Okay, don't mention the war, so it's okay, that's fine. But you can find him on Instagram. So
absolutely.
And he's Mr. Stein.
Absolutely, because somebody else had the nerve to take my name, so I had to add the Mr. in front. But actually, that's fine. A lot of people call me Mr. Hansen anyway, so we might as well go for it.
Okay, never hope for that to happen from me. You know, just don't hold your breath. It never is going to happen. Okay, so we have now exactly 5 minutes left, and so anyone who's any more questions, how do you pronounce line? Is it line or Lina from Norway? L-I-N-E. How do you pronounce
Lina.
That? Lina. Lina says fantastic with lots of exclamation marks. Thank you very much. So any of you have questions, now's the time. Well, here we go. Can we see some of you? Can we see some of your gorgeous containers? They're obviously looking at the stuff behind you there. We have to explain that this is actually Stein's
This is actually my living room. After I closed my store a few years back, I have not been able to find a studio that sort of made sense, that also was in a price range that I could afford. So my apartment is constantly a mess. So I'm very happy you can only see this part of my apartment, because trust me, the rest of it is nothing to brag about. It's absolutely horrible. But there are a few of my sort of treasures here. I have a fetish for vases, so I have hundreds, literally hundreds.
He does, yeah. He also has a wonderful dog called Charlie, Mr. Charlie, who I have never met Mr. Charlie, but Mr. Charlie and I are good friends. Oh, Ricardo is saying, thanks for a wonderful meeting. Thank you, Ricardo. That's very kind of you. So no questions coming in. How amazing is that? Stein Are, I've got to say thanks very much for doing all this for us. You know, it's just like having family talking to you.
Yeah, this isn't very hard. I think me and you can keep on going. We could keep on going for hours. I think that wouldn't be an issue. So
it never has been. You know, I was talking about us having afternoon tea. Oh, Betty, you're back, gorgeous Betty. Oh,
hi there.
Linda saying I really enjoyed, and now I know what I have bought and didn't know what it was.
Important to know.
Well, this is useful, Linda. And thanks, Sally. Oh, that's a wonderful webinar. And Uri saying thanks and very innovative. Oh my goodness, everybody's getting to be too nice. Thanks very much for that very interesting conversation. Okay, I won't tell you about our afternoon tea. Thanks, Hannah. Oh, thanks about the chat. Where we actually didn't get to, did we ever drink tea at the afternoon tea? I think it was 2 bottles of shampoo.
I think we had a sip of Earl Grey and about 2 liters of shampoo. So
not like us, is it? But anyway, thank you so much. Our next webinar will be with another good friend of mine, who's called David Beam, and he will be talking on the subject of brand and how to create something from nothing. And his is an amazing story. He's a really, really nice man. So thanks, Stein.
Alison and Stein, I just want to say on behalf of Danziger, you were awesome. And Stein, you did such a beautiful work. We were like amazed with every creation that you made. We were very impressed. I didn't know that we can do so many wonderful things with Green Dragon. So thank you for the inspiration. And
yeah,
thank you for joining
away
us.
From the obvious things and maybe see if we could find
you did great. You did wonderful. So thank you very much for your time and effort. And I hope that everyone really enjoyed it. And we're really looking forward for the next Danziger Live with David Beam. Yeah,
we're hoping that will be in June, yeah?
End of June. We will send all the posts in the group so everyone will be updated.
So keep in touch with us on the group on Facebook. We're here
Danziger Live.
Okay, yeah. Danziger Live, and thanks a lot.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Missing you already. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Alison has gone. She has gone. No, she's not gone. Have I gone?